Things just wouldn't be complete without discussing the all-important topic of dating. That's right. The very reason why men and women exist on this planet to keep the population going. Very few people really want to be on their own, and I think that deep down inside, we're all looking for that special person that we hope to spend our lives with. So it would be wrong of me not to touch upon this subject and the various aspects of dating in the Philippines. Now, over the last 3 years, I myself have interacted with quite a few Filipinas and a handful of long-distance relationships. So I know a thing or two when it comes to dealing with Filipinas. Now, dating in the Philippines is a unique experience shaped by the country's rich culture, traditional values, and the distinctive characteristics of Filipinas. So, let's dive into the nuances, exploring the pros and cons, whilst also touching upon some of the differences between Filipinas and Western women, age gap relationships, and other relevant aspects. Now, looking at the characteristics of Filipinas, firstly, in general, they are very family-orientated and often have close-knit relationships with their families, prioritizing family above all else. The slogan, family first, is not to be taken lightly. This value is deeply ingrained within their upbringing, so when you're dating a Filipina, you can expect to be committed and respectful of family traditions, and this can be a plus if you're looking for a partner who values long-term relationships and strong family bonds. They are also known for their warm and caring nature. Filipinas are often very hospitable and nurturing, and they tend to be very supportive and understanding of their partners, which can make relationships feel comforting and stable. Now, many Filipinas hold traditional values, especially those from rural and provincial areas or more conservative backgrounds, and this can include expectations about gender roles, modesty, and premarital relationships. And while this can foster a stable and respectful relationship, it may also pose challenges if you both have different views on these topics. Now, language and communication is also unique to them because their English is widely spoken in the Philippines, which makes communication much easier for Westerners. But there are still cultural nuances in communication, and it takes some time to understand these. The clearest example I can think of here is humor. When telling jokes, especially sarcasm, just because you think that something is funny, whether it's a comment or a little quip or a joke about something, it doesn't mean to say that a Filipina is necessarily going to respond in the same way, or even find it funny at all. Now, you'd be amazed how things can be misinterpreted or completely flipped over and misconstrued or wrongly understood, creating uncomfortable situations or awkward moments. Wit and sarcasm can be very different in different parts of the world. Now, I've lost count of the number of times when I've been talking to a Filipina and I've had to pause and backtrack and then spend time to slowly explain what I actually meant by whatever comments that were made, only to find that even the explanation went completely over their head because they just didn't get it. Dry sarcasm from the West is not always appreciated over there, so you have to be very careful at first and slowly gauge the understanding that your Filipina has to the things that you say by treading softly. From experience, eventually Filipinos do start to understand what you're saying and how you're saying it and what you've actually meant, but it can take time for this to happen. Now, when looking at the pros of dating in the Philippines, genuine affection is right at the top, as Filipinas are often sincere in their relationships, valuing emotional connections and loyalty. And if they are truly interested in you, it's highly likely that they're looking for something meaningful or long-term. This is often made very clear as you'll often hear the phrase, "I date to marry." Dating in the Philippines offers an opportunity, yes, to immerse yourself in a vibrant culture full of traditions and festivals, and cultural exchange can be enriching and broaden your worldview. The Filipinos are generally adaptable, especially when it comes to cross-cultural relationships. They often make every effort to understand and blend with their partner's culture, which can make the relationship much smoother. However, when dealing with younger generations, social media has had a significant impact on their understanding of the West, and some of this has been transferred through various social media platforms. It would be very easy to see how over the coming years, the upcoming generations will become much more westernized anyway. Whether that's a good or bad thing remains to be seen. Now, of course, the lower cost of living for Westerners in the Philippines is relatively low, which means dating can cost less. This means dining out, traveling weekends away, participating in activities together, or even starting a family becomes much more affordable. This certainly bodes well in helping to keep the relationship active when considering that money is one of the main problems that relationships eventually encounter. Now let's take a look at the cons of dating in the Philippines. Cultural expectations can be a big issue, as there can be a strong cultural expectation regarding marriage, gender roles, which may clash with Western ideals of equality and independence. This can lead to misunderstandings or even conflicts if it's not navigated carefully. Family involvement. Now, the family influence can be both a blessing and a challenge. And in some cases, families might have strong opinions about the relationship, which can add pressure or complicate the dynamics of it. And it's often said that in the Philippines, if you marry a Filipina, you're also marrying her family. Economic disparities is an obvious one, because the economic gap between you and your Filipino partner is likely to be significant. And some Filipinas might expect financial support to be given in varied degrees, which is not uncommon, but it can be problematic if there are mismatched expectations, especially if the family become involved with their expectations also. Filipinas tend to put family first, and it's not uncommon to see them finishing college or finding work just to send money home to help and support her parents and sometimes even her siblings. If she then enters into a relationship with a Westerner, this could change that dynamic. So you are essentially removing her ability to earn and therefore contribute. And it's generally expected that a Westerner would continue that support in some form or other, in particular for her parents, and sometimes even for the siblings as well. Although this isn't always the case, it's most certainly something that you will need to consider and discuss very openly with your Filipino partner. Now moving on to the all-contentious subject of age gap relationships, which are very common in the Philippines, often due to traditional views where older men are generally seen as more stable, both emotionally and financially. Therefore, ultimately, even capable of providing for a family. This is in contrast to Western norms where such age gaps might be viewed with much more skepticism. And since the beginning of time, older men generally are more attracted to youth and beauty, whilst younger women are often preferring more experienced and financially stable men. Now, if two consenting adults choose to be together, whatever their reasons, then that's their business. However, significant age differences can lead to imbalances of power and control or expectations, not to mention the difficulty in finding common ground and having very different levels of experience in life or goals and interests. Although overall Filipinos tend to view older Western men as more faithful and loyal, at the end of the day, it's of course down to both individuals to decide what their needs are and what they are truly happy with or not. Next, we'll take a look at the differences between Filipinas and Western women. Now, Western women generally emphasize independence and equality in relationships. They might prioritize their careers or personal growth more aggressively, whereas Filipinas tend to be more inclined towards family life. Gender roles, Filipinas might adhere more to traditional gender roles where the man is seen as the provider and the woman as the housemaker. Although this is gradually changing through Western influence, Western women, on the other hand, might expect more equal sharing of responsibilities. The approach to dating from Western women is more casual, a more exploratory mindset, where they often value personal space and time, whereas Filipinas, especially from more traditional backgrounds, may view dating as a more serious step towards marriage. It's not uncommon to find that after the first date, a Filipina will view the situation as being more permanent than merely a date, whereas Western women are used to taking their time to get to know the person over a series of dates in a more casual way before progressing to something more serious. Now, other points of interest to take into account: the religious influence of the Philippines, where it's predominantly Catholic, and religion plays a significant role in daily life. And therefore, relationships, many Filipinas might place importance on sharing religious beliefs and practices, preferring their partner to be God-fearing, which can be a bonding factor, but also a potential source of conflict if beliefs differ, as people are generally much less religious in the West. Online dating, with the rise of online dating platforms, it's now easier to meet Filipinas than ever before. However, this comes with its own set of challenges, such as ensuring genuine connections and navigating the risks of scams or miscommunications. Cultural sensitivity and understanding and respecting Filipino culture is crucial. And this includes being mindful as social norms, being polite, showing respect to elders, all of which will go a long way to help building a strong relationship. So to summarize, dating in the Philippines offers a unique blend of tradition and warmth, but it's very important to approach it with an open mind, a lot of patience and cultural sensitivity. The experience can be incredibly rewarding if both partners are committed to understanding and embracing each other's backgrounds and expectations, which will hopefully lead to a happy and fulfilling relationship.